Welcome back to Africa's Vision Network. My name is Omar Ashaka, your guest host, and our fabulous guest is Mr. Bobby Parker. And I hope you are enjoying this show as well as I am. It's really an honor and a joy to be sitting here having an interview with the blues legend, Mr. Bobby Parker. Bobby, as we closed the first segment, we were talking about Blacktop Records, but one of the things I wanted to also mention when we were talking about Michael Jackson, Bobby, I remember how Michael Jackson would have his fans, they would be passing out as they were watching him perform. And you know, Bobby, I've watched you perform, and sometimes it seems like your fans are about ready to pass out. And I mean, they be making some steps, man, that I've never seen before. So yeah, your music really does penetrate the soul of your fans. But Bobby, we were talking about your experience with Blacktop Records. You had, I believe, the CD, Watch Your Step, and everyone thought that was going to be the great launching pad for you. But tell us about that experience, Bobby.
Well, we were doing very well with Blacktop. I really liked that label, and they had a lot of great artists, Solomon Burke and a lot of other people. And he was one of my idols, you know. And when I went to New Orleans, I kind of felt back at home, you know, because I'm originally from Lafayette, in that area. And the thing that happened was I was offered, somebody wanted me to go to a certain club to do a show. And we were just coming off of recording sessions and day and night routines and for months, getting new records out. So we were just organizing our buses, our vans and our cars and stuff like that. And we didn't have them all yet at that time. I was offered a gig to do a show in this area. And I told him, I said, no, I don't want to do that show. He said, well, Bobby, you know a certain artist, Albert Collins. I said, yeah, I sure do. He's a buddy of mine.
He's a guitar player, right?
Oh, man, was he ever.
Yeah, okay.
So I said, no, I'm not ready to do that show because we, right now, don't have our buses together, and we might not meet that time frame with our band and get everybody over there in the daytime and set up on time and make that show. And the weather was, at that particular time, was snowy and raining and cold, seriously cold at night, you know. So they wanted me to do that show, and I said, no, I'm not going to do it. Let's do another show, and I'll see you around. Thanks for asking me, but I'm not going to do that. So about a week or so later, my phone began to jump off the hook. Calls were coming in. Bobby, what's up, man? I said, hey, I hear you at this club over here. And I said, what club? He said, well, you with Albert Collins. I said, no. I denied because I didn't want to play that yet because our transportation was not in order. So they said, oh, yes, you are. You're in the papers. I said, really? They said, yeah, you're on. I said, oh, whoa. So somebody went behind my back and booked that gig without my knowledge, without my consent. So the show came about, and we prepared for it, and we all came over there in taxi cabs and rental cars to get over there, you know. Pouring down raining on a cold night. We got there, and we was about 30 minutes late. Got there and did a nice show with Albert Collins Band and all that. And so telling them out front that not to book that gig for me at that particular time. They booked it. They knew the bad thing that I had to come through with about the transportation. And they booked it anyway without my consent. So we did the show, and people liked the show, and I found out that after we did that show, I was blacklisted.
And for the fans for the audience who are watching, Bobby, give us a little definition of.
Yeah, blacklisted all over the eastern seaboard, around the nation. And I understand that the blacklisting is still going on, you know.
And we're talking about many years ago?
18, 20 years ago. You know, that's ridiculous, you know.
Wow.
But, you know, it's a hard life. Musicians have stuff that happens, catches up to them like this, you know, and it's beyond our control sometimes.
Well, Bobby, we've had a lot of musicians on our show, and one of the common denominators, it seems as though finding a good manager, finding a good attorney, is a problem for musicians. I mean, I'm thinking even the great Michael Jackson may have had some of those challenges. Has that been one of your challenges?
Well, sometimes it's very difficult to find legal people to help you until you've arrived at a certain plateau, because they're doing stuff, you know, sort of on, you know, to help you, and where you haven't arrived up to that plateau as yet, you know. But I mean, I've been all over this world with everybody. I mean, I was in the Apollo House Band in the 50s with Paul Huckabuck Williams, and the Regal House Band in Chicago, and the Royal House Band in Baltimore. And that's how I came to D.C. through the Howard Theater House Band. And I've seen so many things happen in D.C., and good things. I wanted to stay in Washington. That's why I stayed around the D.C. area, you know. And but things happen to great artists, like, you know, beyond our control, because they're put into certain situations that they really don't want to do at the time, you know.
Well, Bobby, because time is moving on, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. These are going to be what I call a little lighter questions, and then I have a question for you that may not be so light. For example, I think recently you did get an award from the Howard Theater in Washington, D.C., right? Were you honored? Share with our audience a little bit about that experience, that award that you got.
Well, I'm thrilled to death that the Howard Theater is coming back after all these years, and they're feverishly working on it, getting it together, and they got a great show planned. You know, it's going to be great gospel, great, you know, rap, hip-hop on some weekends, and R&B, roots rock, and blues, and all kinds of good stuff they got planned.
And it's within the environment of, it's very close by Howard University in Washington.
It is, yes. It's in the vicinity of Howard University.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, let me ask you this. You've been playing for a long time, and you have some interesting health techniques that you or techniques that help enhance your health, I should put it that way.
Yeah.
And I was intending to bring a bottle of mustard because I was asking you about, you know, your hands. Do you do exercises with your fingers to keep them, you know, in the condition where you continue to play guitar? Share with our audience a few of the Bobby Parker secrets.
Well, I found out by health food stores. And I'm an aficionado of going to the health food store and looking around and buying new vitamins and stuff like that. You know, I like to do that. I think it works for me. So I found out several volumes on mustard that it'll stop a migraine headache.
When you say volumes, you mean books?
Books.
Okay.
Yeah, pamphlets. So I got involved with reading about mustard. And I found out that if you have aches, arthritis, pains, and stuff like that, mustard will stop it like that. You know, people don't believe that, but it's true.
That's intriguing. Now, how do you take it, Bobby? How do you take this mustard?
A tablespoonful at a time. It'll stop a headache. If you have arthritis, pains, many musicians have piano players want to keep their fingers straight. And another one is hydrogen peroxide. Keeps you, you know, if you got arthritic pains, elbows and stuff, Wrap yourself with hydrogen peroxide and take a little mustard.
So, Bobby, how long have these techniques been working for you?
As far as I can remember. I learned a lot of this from my grandmother,
Okay.
way back in history. She used to take vinegar and garlic, shake it up, and that'll keep you virile and youngish, Okay. So it's a lot of things to do, that people don't know about,
Well, see, Bobby, that's what I enjoy about you. Not only are you a great musician, but you're intellectually stimulating, too, when I have a conversation with you. Because you can talk about things other than music.
I was a guinea pig, probably.
Okay. Well, look, Bobby, because time is moving on.
Yeah.
But let's I got a serious question for you. And I wrote it down here. It says, taking us on a short journey, Bobby, of race and music, when you first started and now. I saw real quick Ray Charles performing somewhere down in Florida. It was a DVD. I didn't see him live. But none of his musicians, maybe the band leader was African American, but other than that, they were not. What has your journey been like when it comes to the race factor?
Well, I'm going to tell you, when I first came out into the world of big-time entertainment, I was in the 18-piece orchestra. Paul Huckabuck Williams, a great guy who was a saxophonist. And we had an 18-piece orchestra. And we was the Apollo House Band and the Regal Theater in Chicago and the Howard Theater in D.C. and the Royal in Baltimore. And we were traveling in a small band with Ruth Brown, Big Joe Turner, Hank Ballard, the Midnighters, and Little Willie John, one of the greatest of all, and a lot of great artists. And we traveled all through the South, and the only place that we could play was tobacco warehouses. All this great talent. Of course, there were stadiums and there were concert halls and all that, but Chuck Berry and Fats Domino was with us, and they were huge, and they still are,
I'm sorry, Bob, tobacco warehouse. You mean literally a tobacco warehouse?
That's where we play. That's the only place we could play. Would put 5,000 or 6,000 people, and it was segregated, So after we did all the what they call the chilling circuit runs, playing the tobacco warehouses through South Carolina, North Carolina, Durham, Raleigh, and all that, and Mississippi and Alabama. Other kids wanted to get in and see Chuck Berry, Fats Domino, Little Richard, and if they weren't allowed in, they start turmoil outside. Let us in, let us in. The young white kids, they wanted to get in there so bad they were turning over cars and stuff like that, So eventually Fats Domino and all the people and Little Richard and Chuck said, look, if we can't entertain everybody, we're not going to do it.
This is Chuck Berry.
Yeah. Let them all and let everybody in. Tobacco warehouse and all. The kids loved it. Everywhere we went in the chilling circuit, we changed the world because the older folks didn't want kids to get involved. Now, 50, 60 years have passed. Love it so well, they own most of it. So
now break it down for our audience, Bobby, when you say they own most of it.
Yeah. The blues societies are mostly non-African American. The blues festivals also, most of them are not African American. So I got to say that that has a lot to do with when rap hip hop came into play. Our music, jazz and blues, roots rock, was kind of left alone, kind of dropped by us, you know. So quite naturally, somebody picked it up, ran off and made big doings, millions of dollars out of our music, which is great. But ultimately, we are kind of left holding the bag. But you know, it's a lot of people in it nowadays that some of us are kind of pushed to the side, so to speak.
And Bobby, I know that there's frustration. You and I talked about a musician.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a disc jockey now, and he interviewed you, Larry Graham. I think had the song "A One in a Million You."
Mm-hmm.
But in talking with you, Larry Graham was very sounded frustrated about the new direction of the music.
Well, like I say, I think that music has come so far that it's taken over the world and sort of left some of the original entertainment people that are still around out of it. Plain and simple.
So, Bobby, do you have, as a musician, can this be salvaged? Can we fix this, or?
Yeah, I think we have to find a way to reestablish ourselves, to keep everybody involved with this music. You got to work hard at it because it's really getting away from us, you know. And
when you say work hard at it, in what way, Bobby? Are you talking about having music in the school systems, or
that too?
Okay.
Roots rock and real blues, real jazz, John Coltrane, Clifford Brown, Freddie Hubbard, all the people, good jazz players. There's really no more of that right now. It should be. There's some new jazz players, the great ones, but it's not handled like it used to be when Miles Davis was, you know, a big star in it, you know, and Cannonball Adderley, people like that, and the blues artists like Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf,
John Lee Hooker.
John Lee Hooker. It's going awry. I mean, it's hit the fan, you know, to everybody who wants to be involved, talented or not, you know, and it's all right, but don't leave out the originals that are still around.
Well, Bobby, with that being said, when you're performing, how do you feel knowing that things have changed, but yet God still has you here to play? How does that make you feel? When you're playing, do you ever think about, wow, you know, there are not a lot of us out here playing now? Does that go through your mind as you're playing, or just what?
Yeah, I think that I've always believed that your body is a temple. You know, keep it clean, and divine intervention may sustain you. I really do believe that. I mean, do too many night life things is not good for you. I think you'll have better luck if you stay on the path of what you want to do with the music and keep it going. Try to involve all the people, ball players, the Bill Cosby's type people, Quincy Jones type people should be involved all the time, because those are great people. We need their input so bad nowadays. If we don't get that input, sad, it's shame on us. You know, the original artists, like I said, still around, will not get much play, you know.
Well, Bobby, that's truly fascinating, and let me just change the direction of the interview just a little bit. You come up with some very interesting titles for your songs. One in particular I always get a kick out of, and I think it goes something like Santa Claus Stole My Woman.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how do you come up with your titles, the titles of these songs?
Well, I write music about what's going on in the community, in the world, you know. And it's Santa Claus. You know, took my woman. I hope he bring her back by New Year's Eve. You know, because he's running away like he's trying to catch a rabbit. So, you know, rabbit habit. That's it.
How long did it take you to write that song?
Not long.
So you write all your songs that quick?
Well, you know, I own what you call Song of Day Music with BMI, and Song of Day this, Song of Day that.
And BMI is the publishing.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty known to write songs right on stage. I mean, I get up there and get a groove going, and it lasts for hours. Just bam, one song right after another. So writing songs is I've been blessed to do that. It doesn't take long to do.
Bobby, do you have a favorite song that whenever you play it, whenever you hear it, it does something special to you? Or
Yeah, there are several. I wrote a nice blues tune called "I Want to Kick It Around with You," you know, and I like that. And I'm doing the Wild Thing, you know, and quite a few other good tunes that I really like. Watch Your Step is one of them.
Well, with some of those titles, I don't know if this question is going to be appropriate, but have you ever considered singing any gospel songs? Or what I call gospel blues?
Hey, yeah, I've really thought about a lot of people have approached me because I love gospel music. My mother was a gospel singer. Okay. My father was sort of a zydeco piano player in Lafayette, Louisiana. And we all came to California when I was about 6 or 7 years old, you know, and it worked out very well because, of course, my father, he wasn't a musician, but he could play. On weekends, he would play, and it just came to him like magic, you know. But I got it honestly from my mom, you know, gospel. I love gospel music. I love gospel music. So there will be some changes coming up. Another thing I'd like to say, all the stuff that we've been reading about in history is coming to pass. So spiritually, I think perhaps people better take notice to that.
So the timing might be very good for you right now.
Probably.
Start.
Yeah, I mean, as we know, we see a lot of horrendous stuff going on, you know, in the environment.
Bobby, when you are going to a store, when you're not on stage, I mean, you're the Bobby Parker, the blues guitar legend. Do you ever get an ego? Do you ever act like, okay, this is when you walk in a room, okay, hey y'all, this is Mr. Parker, this is Bobby Parker, the blues guitar legend. I mean, do you ever go through that? Or, I mean, and let me say this, I've been in a couple places and I saw you, and it was kind of interesting because, you know, you were so down to earth. But do you ever get kind of pumped up because you are Bobby Parker, the guitar legend?
Well, not really. I seem to stay grounded. When I was younger, in my 20s and 30s like that, I was a little hoppity, you know, sort of with my everyday life. But it wasn't bad. It was just coming through that stage, that era of myself, you know. And I found out that you'll do better if you stay grounded. And that's what I try to do.
And of course, Bobby, I would imagine you're passing this on to other young musicians that you might meet.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. Do you ever pick up your guitar, Bobby, if you are feeling bad or you got a headache? Does your guitar ever become like an aspirin or like a doctor for you?
I'm glad you asked that, Omar.
Okay, well, good. I like that.
Would you believe that as soon as I wake up in the morning, take a shower and clean up, you know, freshen up and go outside and get a little air, fresh air. And first thing I want to do
We
is
got about 2 minutes too, Bobby.
first thing I want to do is grab my guitar and start playing it in the morning.
Every morning.
About 30 minutes, maybe
Wow.
20 or 30 minutes, something like that.
Bobby, real quick, time is just gone here. Real quick, God bless you. Thank you for being on the show. What do you want to leave with your fans? I know you want to work on a movie deal, but I'm going to make it real quick. What do you want to tell your fans that might be watching?
I have so many things to say that I want to start back when I was 12 years old, when I was telling you about the gentleman that gave me his guitar. I'm looking for a script so we can make a movie out of my life, coming up through the ranks and R&B and blues. There will be a Fats Domino, there will be a Little Richard, there will be Chuck Berry, there will be me involved with that whole scenario. Even up till now, we want to make this movie. So,
Well, Bob, we're going to be praying for you on that. And Bob, we're going to close out with one of your songs that some people might even relate to the post office. You know, they're saying the post office might close. And you got this song, Lick 'em and Stick 'em. How does it?
well, it's called some people call it a double entendre.
Okay.
It's the way you think. But it's about postage stamps, sending postage stamps to sending love letters to your loved one. You know, so hurry up and get that letter to them. Got stamps, put it on there fast and send it on out. Lick them and stick them and send them on out.
Well,
That's all it is.
We're going to have to close the book. God bless you.
Thank
Bobby.
you, man. I love you.
I love you too, brother. And we'll be looking forward to the movie, and God bless you, Bobby. We look forward to maybe hearing a gospel song or two from you.
Absolutely.
But thank you for, we'll have to have you back because there's so much history here. We just can't thank you enough for being on.
Thank you, Omar. It's my pleasure.
You gotta lick 'em and stick 'em. You gotta lick 'em and stick 'em. You gotta lick 'em and stick 'em.